Hello everybody, it's Father Tony here. I've got a story for you today about Jesus. It's called Jesus and the Picnic. When Jesus was alive, he was very, very popular. Wherever he went, there were always crowds of people gathering around because they wanted to hear him, hear the wonderful things that he had to say. And also, he would heal people and make them feel better. So wherever he went, there was always crowds. And one day, Jesus had been busy by the shore of the lake, a big lake called the Sea of Galilee. Jesus had been busy teaching people and healing them, and the crowds had gathered around, and it was getting quite late in the afternoon, and Jesus was beginning to feel rather tired. And so he decided with his friends to get into a boat and go off to the far side of the lake. It was a big lake, it would have been quite a few miles across to the other side. But they decided to get into the boat and go across so that Jesus could have a bit of a quiet time, a bit of peace and quiet, and be on his own for a while. And so they set off in the boat across the lake, put the sail up, and off they sailed across to the other side of the lake. And when they got there, when they got to the shore on the other side of the lake, what had happened? All those crowds of people had seen that Jesus was heading for the far side of the lake, and they'd run very fast all the way around the outside of the lake, along the shore, and they'd reach the other side before Jesus got there in his boat. They must have run very fast because they wanted to see Jesus. So when Jesus and his friends landed on the shore, there was a crowd of people again. Well, Jesus felt sorry for them. And he realised that it was getting a bit late in the afternoon. It was getting towards evening by this stage. And one of Jesus' disciples said, "Jesus, don't you think we ought to send all these people away? Because it's getting so late, it's nearly evening. It's going to be dark soon. And they're out here, the other side of the lake, far away from their homes. Why don't you send them off to their villages to try and get something to eat?" And Jesus said to his disciples, to his friends, he said, "Why don't you give them something to eat?" Well, Jesus' friends scratched their heads and they looked around and they saw thousands of people. Thousands of people. How on earth were they going to find food to feed all those people? And then a little boy came forward. And this little boy had been really sensible because he'd come following Jesus. We don't know whether his parents or his grandparents were with him. I guess he probably wasn't on his own. He certainly came with somebody, but he'd been sent with his packed lunch. Now, I'm sure he didn't have a packed lunch box just like this one, made out of plastic, but he got his lunch packed up already. And he said to Jesus, "Why don't you have my lunch? I'm happy to share it. And you can make sure that people have got some food." And what did this little boy have in his packed lunch? Let's see. He got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loaves of bread. And he got 2 fish. In other words, he got fish sandwiches. Do you like fish sandwiches? No. I like fish finger sandwiches. They're very, very tasty. But anyway, this little boy had got 5 loaves and 2 fish to make his fish sandwiches up. And he said to Jesus, "You can have these." And it says in the story that Jesus took them and he said thank you to God for them. And then he started to share them out. He shared out the bread. He shared out the fish. And do you know what happened? We don't know how this happened, but something amazing happened. That Jesus fed all those thousands of people with the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, the fish sandwiches that the little boy had given. And it says, even when he'd finished, he told his disciples to go and pick all the crumbs up off the grass and gather them together. And they filled baskets full of all the crumbs as well. What an amazing party that was that Jesus had by the shore of the lake. And it was all possible because that little boy decided to share what he had with Jesus. How important that is, sharing. He could have said, I'm going to keep all this for myself, and then there would have been no food at all for Jesus to share. But even though it didn't seem very much, he offered it to Jesus. He shared it. How wonderful that is. That we may feel we can't offer very much, we can't do very much, and yet what we can do is share what we have with others, and wonderful things can happen.